366 video series. A nice summer day here in California, and I was thinking of how can I blow your minds and give you some information that I think is so critical and so important to your personal growth. What would that topic be? And it's self-acceptance. Why is self-acceptance so incredibly important? Because if you are having dramas, chaos, trauma, low self-esteem, depression, anxiety, trouble sleeping, you're going to be struggling with things like acceptance. At the root of all lack of acceptance is also going to be this thing of self-acceptance. So I thought I would give you 3 specific things that might help you align to more self-acceptance. I'm not even talking about self-love because, it's very difficult and challenging to get to self-love when there's a massive lack of self-acceptance. And most people have become accustomed to not liking their body, not liking their reactions, not liking their behavior, being hypercritical of other people. People have just become accustomed to that being their way of life. And as you know by now, being in sync is a lifestyle shift and change, right? So I was going to talk about 3 main things. I want to talk about self-deception, shadow work, and stopping the autopilot. Like the autopilot thinking is a problem. So I'm going to start with the autopilot thinking and I'm going to work my way backwards. So autopilot thinking is when you are just doing and thinking and the same things on repeat without shifting or changing them. And you tend to go, I know that we've all had the experience when we're driving or going somewhere that we've gone before and we take the same route where before we know it, we've kind of gone into like this daze or this zone. That's autopilot. When you're in autopilot with your life, like you're just in a daze and a zone, this is called escapism. This is called zoned out, disconnected from yourself and your life. And when that is happening, you are opening yourself up to a myriad of energies that will take you into what's called a descending cycle. So you might think, oh, I want to check out. I want to be in the zone. Ignorance is bliss, but it's really not. And the reason why it's not is because before you know it, you'll be in a quandary of a situation where you have a difficult time getting out. So being in autopilot is really detrimental to your well-being, to your growth, to your soul's evolution, and to being in alignment. So get out of autopilot, because then when you're in autopilot, you cannot go into acceptance. It's impossible because you're checked out. So get out of autopilot. That would be number 1 recommendation. That's the easiest one of the 3 that I'm going to recommend. Shadow work. And shadow work is talked about a lot in the spiritual communities, because the shadow work is about bringing your awareness to aspects of yourself that you didn't know existed before. So whether it's a new awareness, a new perception, or maybe it's just a complete change in what you thought your reality was. So shadow work entails really doing a deep dive. In corporate work, they do what's called a 360-degree assessment. That's where you do a self-assessment of yourself, and then your boss does one, and your subordinates and your coworkers. More often than not, these 360 assessments are for management to use to grow themselves so they can be better and get better results. But ultimately, the reason why people don't get results is because they don't know how to get out of their own way. Like, results are not because you did a good job and people aligned. It more often than not, it's because you've had awarenesses that shift your perception, that opens potentials and possibilities for others to collaborate and partner with you to get the project where it needs to go. It's never one person that gets a job done or a project done. It's always going to be a collaborative effort. So when you are doing shadow work, you must be able to get out of your own way. You cannot get out of your own way if you don't know where you're getting in your own way. And that's what shadow work is. Shadow work is getting information, input, and access from other people around you who see and experience you a particular way. And then when you take that information, then you can make a conscious choice to do something about what they've said or move on. But at least you have information about yourself from these other outside resources. Now, shadow work is not complicated, but it does very much challenge how the ego perceives itself. And when the ego gets information, when the person receives information, almost unanimously, people look at the data and make judgments or assessments on it, right? That's what we do. We judge information because information is just information until we've given it meaning. So what's the meaning you're going to give to the feedback that you're getting? Well, I would suggest that you don't give any meaning to it until you've gotten enough data to then make an assessment. But most people stop and get data from only one or two sources. You need to get data from multiple sources in order for you to be able to shed light into what's called shadow work. If you are around people at work or in your close friendships or in your family, and they're not willing to give you feedback that might be perceived as negative, you have people who are lying to you. You have people that are unwilling to tell you the truth, and they don't want to jeopardize their own relationship with themselves, to be honest. And then you have the dilemma, like, are these people really your good friends if they are not willing to tell you what's perceived as negative information? And the truth is you have some people who are lying to you. And that's not a comfortable feeling for people, but it's an important data point to look at. And so shadow work really means getting more information from outside sources. So in corporate, they do 360 assessments, but for yourself, you could do the same thing by getting 3x5 cards and asking your friends, family, coworkers, people who have experience with you, and ask them to write 3 adjectives positive, 3 adjectives negative about you. That's all you're asking for, adjectives. And then you take the adjectives and you then give meaning to those adjectives. You don't ask the person that's giving you the adjectives to give explanations as to why they wrote those words. That is not the point of this exercise. The point is to get the adjectives so you can give meaning to the data, and then you can then make some conscious choices. So once you get the adjectives from these people, and they're going to have some negative and positive adjectives, they're all equal. None are better than another. The words do not have meaning unless you give them meaning. Give gratitude and appreciation from those people willing to be honest with you without explanation, by just doing the exercise. And then you take those gems of adjectives and you look at them and say, okay, what does this mean to me? How can I adjust or see myself differently based on this data? And then you go into internal inquiry, which is curiosity, which is evolving. How can I change and evolve? Then the next thing is to go into, where have you been deceiving yourself? Self-deception is going to lead to a lack of self-acceptance. So going back to the global issue of anxiety and depression, that all leads to self-deception. So self-deception is a block to self-acceptance. Self-deception is a block to changing your reality. Self-deception is a block to really aligning yourself within. And you cannot pretend to be in acceptance when you haven't looked at where have you been deceptive with yourself. Where have you lied to yourself? Where have you misstepped? And so you want to really do a deep dive into self-deception. That's not always easy, but it's always worthwhile. So if you're willing to look at self-deception, do your shadow work, and then also stop going into autopilot, you will be able to really go into self-acceptance much faster and easier than the vast majority of our populations. So most people are not doing these deep dives because they're uncomfortable, one, because their ego's involved, number two. Number three, they really, they like to pretend to do the work and complain about not getting results. I mean, people don't do these deep dives for a lot of reasons, but the biggest one is that they get in their own way and they're on autopilot. And the best way to get out of autopilot is to work with somebody like me that's going to help keep you accountable to being on a system of realigning constantly, because we're always fluctuating. So I just want to take a moment here. Hello, Bob. I just want to see if there's any questions. Somebody's wishing me success. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I wish you success. I wish everybody here success in their own spiritual evolution and alignment. So self-acceptance is the key to getting more results at work, getting more results and traction in your personal life, and also your personal relationships. Be willing to accept yourself totally, fully, and completely. And to do that, you have to be willing to see those parts of yourself that have been ignored, denied, or hidden for whatever reasons. So do the work. It's worth it. Cheers to being in sync. I am Kiana Sage, and I guide people to peace. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Bye.